Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Tunison, President and CEO of the Aiken Chamber of Commerce, joined today by Matthew J., Partner, Chief Operating Officer of PC Techware. Matthew, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to it.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know, give us a little background, describe PC Techware today, what you do, who you serve.
Yeah, so we are a cybersecurity and IT company based here in the CSRA. We serve small to mid-sized businesses, and we do all the watching and planning and monitoring so that business owners can focus on running their business and keeping the lights on.
Yeah, so you're on 24/7.
We are.
So give it a little bit of your personal background. How did you find your way into the tech industry?
It was not a straight line. I grew up in Aiken. So Aiken is the place where I consider where I'm from and my home. I live in Augusta, and for the last 20 years, I've worked a lot in operations, business development, sales, and never really considered myself like a technology guy. And what I've realized is this is really a people thing.
Mhm.
It's always about the people. And whenever there's a problem, you can eventually trace it down to some sort of technology that's behind it. But being able to navigate those things, I've always been really good at taking very complex concepts or problems, things that scare people, and just translating them into very simple and easy terms. So.
I know sometimes people get overwhelmed with all the technology and, kind of get into that a little bit later. But what ultimately led you to PC Techware and growing into a leadership role there?
Yeah, I think what attracted me most was the idea of the community around the company. A friend of mine, I've been friends with a long time, started it and owned the company. And I was always interested in being an entrepreneur in the small business side of things, backgrounds with larger corporations, middle-sized businesses. And I always kind of wanted to feel what it was like to do your own thing. And so I was fortunate enough to know Russell, and we had an idea that we thought we could make some really good progress and grow the company. And so that's what we've been able to do. This year, actually, we celebrate 25 years in business.
Wow. Awesome.
So it's a great milestone, for us. We're super excited about that and super fortunate that, we've had clients that have put their trust in us over all those years.
That's awesome. 25, America's 250.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
That's right.
So how early on did you join the company? I mean, you said 25 years. So how long have you been there?
I joined in 2018.
Okay.
And it's funny, I knew Russell well before that, and I was doing my thing, he was doing his, and we would get together on weekends and hang out, and they would visit us and we would visit them, and we always kind of joked and said, "Oh man, we should do something together. Well, is there an opportunity to do this?" And
Yeah.
so we kind of joked about it in the past, and then I had a pretty significant life event happen. And I had to completely reinvent myself. My wife actually passed away in 2017, and she was a stay-at-home mom right after we had our third child. And at the time, I was traveling and covering 9 states. And overnight, I said,
Can't do that.
can't do this anymore. I got 3 babies that need somebody. And so, at that point in my career, I'd been doing very well and continued to progress and develop, and was really getting to a prime. And when that happened, it's like, well, where do you go from here? And how do you find an organization that's going to understand and care about your situation? So was very fortunate to, have a friendship, and a joke turned into a real conversation, and said, "Hey, what if this was going to happen? How do we make this move?" And I've been very fortunate to have good people around me, not only mentors that have hired me and just been there for me. And that's ultimately what afforded me the opportunity to make the transition down here in 2018. And, um, we put a plan together and went for it. And the beautiful thing about small business is we got 8 months into that 5-year vision plan that we had created and said, it's total garbage. Let's throw it out. Let's start again. Right. Because now we've got a disruption that's happened in the organization. We've got new blood. We've got new perspectives on both sides. And we both learned a lot that said, okay, well, if we've got somebody in a role, how might that impact me? And so that's been very exciting to be able to not only like have a partner, but also have leadership mindset where if it doesn't work, you have to change it, and being able to focus on that and be able to deliver an exceptional like client experience. We're real proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what a blessing too to have a friend that was a small business owner. And if anyone understands the hardships, the craziness that life throws at you, it's entrepreneurs, it's small business owners. So what a blessing to be able to have a friend who was running his own company, and then you're able to really jump in there. They had it grown to a certain point, right? And like you said, you kind of reevaluated, how do we take this thing to the next level? So um, the industry that you guys are in is changing rapidly. How do you stay ahead when this landscape changes? I feel like it's daily anymore.
Yeah, certainly. That's true with cybersecurity and of course, artificial intelligence. I think the biggest thing, is to just accept you're never going to know it all and to make peace with that. And the important thing is knowing how to learn fast and knowing who to trust. We are in a highly innovative industry, and you just can't bring an ego to that. You can't say, well, I did this and I built that and that's my department and that was my thing, and we're going to run it for the next 10 years because that's what I did. You have to constantly say, well, that technology is irrelevant. A lot of the things we have that monitor the back end of clients' environments, that improve a security score, it didn't exist 5 years ago. So being able to operate inside of an organization that has to ensure that processes and people and everything gets updated along with those changes, you really got to be on it and stay on it, and in order to make sure that you're on the front edge of all of those innovative changes.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best pieces of advice that I've received because, in this role, people look to you to be an expert in pretty much everything. We have the saying that we're an inch deep and a mile wide. And I feel like that's the same for you guys. But the learning or having the, I guess the attitude where, hey, I don't know everything, but let me find out. Like you said, find it out fast. And, yes, you're a small business owner, but for those folks that you serve, man, this can feel overwhelming. That's why, they need a team, right? What's the biggest mistake that you see companies make when it comes to IT and cybersecurity?
I would probably say they think they're too small for anything to happen to them. And that's precisely why the bad guys want to exploit them, because they're easy targets. I think the other thing is sometimes people think cybersecurity it's kind of like a fire extinguisher. I can buy something and I'm going to have it when something happens. And for us, cybersecurity isn't necessarily something you own. It's something you do. So making sure that you're, constantly aware of what your risk footprint looks like is key. And, I think that the clients, the customers, the accounts, the businesses that will suffer the most are the ones who they think they're finished. They think they're done with whatever it was. They check the box and they're going to move on. So, those are some of the missteps we sometimes
So
see.
it's almost like a health and wellness routine, right? You're taking these preventative
Absolutely.
measures
Right.
consistently,
Yep.
not a one time, hey, I went to the gym and I got a 6-pack of abs, right?
That's right. That's right.
It's the day in and day out. And you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned AI, and you guys are doing a lot in this space. You're giving some workshops at the chamber. What should, or I guess maybe how should small businesses be thinking about AI? We've had workshops, and I feel like our members, there's such a divide and a gap in people who've come up to me and said, I don't even know how to spell artificial intelligence, right? To
Mhm.
people who have integrated workflows and they have their own personal assistants, right? Um, I guess how should a small business owner who might not have a large team or time um, to deploy new technologies, how should they think about
Mhm.
AI?
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things that it can do. What it can't do is replace your judgment. So there are some things that are repetitive, that are easy, that it's a question you've answered 100 times in your business. Those are absolutely things that AI can help you with. Um, so it can step in as an assistant. It cannot be a CEO, right? It cannot run your company for you. And I think a lot of people are not exactly sure what all it can do. And so out of either fear or ignorance, it's, well, I'm going to do what the other person is doing, right? I've got to do something because they're doing it. And for me, it always boils down to, what problem are you trying to solve? Some of the conversations we've had that start out as artificial intelligence and, hey, we know we got to do something. And what do we
Hmm.
do? They turn into operations, process, people, conversations, cultural
Hmm.
conversations very quickly, because it's almost the first time we see there's been some reflection in the business. And, when we ask, well, what problem are we trying to solve? Oh, well, I haven't identified the problem yet. So just being very methodical about the approach, and not buying into the hype. There's a lot of tools, there's a lot of demos out there. Um, and for us, we've actually moved and created Clear AI, which is its kind of own entity around AI. And we are actively engaged with several organizations on just this topic. How do you implement AI, and how do you move forward with projects to optimize people and workflows? We aren't in it to replace people. We actually think people should not be doing boring, repetitive tasks, that uh, there's an opportunity to elevate and to
Hmm.
find the real value of the people that have the institutional knowledge in an organization, and using AI as kind of a tool for those guys.
And is there anything, I mean, in your mind, are there is there anything that people aren't talking about, or do you have any predictions that, as far as AI goes, that hey, we're not talking about this
Yeah.
right now, but we will next year, 2 years, 3 years down the road?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of focus and talk and attention around what AI can do. I think what's going to be the biggest thing is trust. And um, can I actually trust what the outputs are? And can I trust the insight that it's delivering?
Hmm.
And do I have a way to verify, is this true?
Right.
And I think that's going to be a question that just becomes like a normal business practice in the future, is companies saying, we need to verify, and we need to have a method of validating the output or the result or the response that our little AI brain is giving us. So I think trust in being able to, right? It's not about like content creation. AI can generate an essay for you. It can create an image for you. The content is there.
Hmm.
It will be about authenticating that and verifying that information. That's where I really think, is this thing settles and maturity kind of sets in. And that's really what we've seen all along, right? It's happened in the cybersecurity industry. There's a lot of shiny things you can go do,
Hmm.
but what's going to still exist after that hype dies? Artificial intelligence is the same thing. And I think having governance and frameworks and a discipline so that you can build trust and reliability, and then, having a team that you can trust and build those systems, I think be key.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even last night I was reading this 15-page report that an AI assistant had produced, and I was just noticing, I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. And there's just still instances where you got to use your own judgment. And
Mhm.
if something doesn't feel right, just with anything you read, right,
Yeah.
on the internet, like you said, you got to verify. So it's been a huge help to the chamber and, a lot of our chamber members. So if I would strongly encourage people to just try and
Mhm.
tiptoe in, like start with one, right? There's
Exactly.
so many tools, just start with
Yeah.
one and just start playing around with it. Like you said, I love the frame point of finding problems and then saying, okay, how can this technology fix this or help alleviate this problem? I think
Yeah.
that's a great approach.
Yeah. I tell my kids, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a
That's right.
time, right? Anything in life is like that. And it is taking that next step. And if you have, not any exposure to it, just do something,
Yeah.
anything. And then there will be an opportunity to, learn and evolve as you actively go through that
Yeah.
process. So,
And switching gears a little bit here, your company, you touched on the culture briefly, but at least from our perspective, you guys seem to be so community focused as an organization. We were just talking, me and Jennifer about being on the chamber circuit. I think you guys are a member of every single chamber in the CSRA. I think Jennifer just won an award, right? It was for
that's right.
Ambassador of the Year, I
Yep.
think. Um, and I think Leadership Augusta,
Yeah,
I
just
saw, right?
graduated. Yep. Yeah.
Congratulations
Yeah.
on that,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Great program.
What, I guess, better question, why is that important to you guys and the company to be so involved in your local communities?
We feel it's really important, and we know we're fortunate to see 25 years in business. And we've done well because other people have invested in us and trusted us. And we find ourselves at a place where we do have an opportunity to be a community partner and to contribute. And we think it's a social responsibility to do so. Um, yes, it will fill your schedule up, and you can say yes to a lot of things. But we also, if we say we're a cybersecurity and IT company, and this is what we do for our clients, but only our clients if you pay us, this is like half the message, right? If you're really doing the things and that is what your mission in the world is for, then you have an obligation to engage the community. It's the reason why I've done things at senior centers. I've given talks to um, law schools. I've done talks and I've gotten in classrooms for higher education across the board, any organization. I've done things for nonprofits, other niched organizations that have an interest around AI or cybersecurity. And, I think that the ones who are most vulnerable to get hurt are the ones that people typically overlook to teach. Well, we're not going to the senior center because they're not a paying client.
Right.
Well, yeah, but their demographic, they get exploited all the time, which, people should get thrown in jail for that. But if we can do small things to inform and educate and make recommendations for free tools, things that are already accessible, we realize we can move people into a category where, instead of being the 80% vulnerable status, if we can give them a little bit of information and move them into a bucket where they're better than 80% of people who don't otherwise know that information, we feel like kind of all the boats rise in the tide
Yeah.
sort of thing. So we try to plug in, when and where we can. And really just, Augusta has been good. The CSRA, this region's amazing. And so, we just don't want to take any of that for granted.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And love your analogy there. And I think too, it gets back to the core of what you do. You're right. You're serving your customers, you're, keeping them safe, but you're also with that community focus, creating a more resilient community, which just helps everybody out, right? Um, so what advice would you give to someone who's either looking to start a business or maybe considering a career in the tech space?
Execute, do something, um, especially in this space that moves so quickly. If you take too long to develop an idea, to build a perfect plan, that target is no longer there. So understanding how to be adaptive. The other big thing that I see in our industry is, especially if I could give, young people, early career people, any advice in this industry is learn how to talk to people. Be a human. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of ones and zeros. There's a lot of unknowns. Especially with artificial intelligence, everybody's kind of perceiving this like robot era. Learn to be a human. Learn to engage people and talk to people, because this is the essence of where everything is with relationships. So tech is cool. It can do a lot of really amazing things and make your life easier. But if you walk into a room and people are like, "Oh, here he comes," or right, then it's not going to do anything for you. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's essential. And we've all had conversations with those people who are up here, right? And you're like, what just happened, right? So I think that's a very, very great advice, especially in today's day and age. We can get so focused on the technology and inundated with all these apps and tools that, don't forget about that human connection.
Yeah.
So great point. All right, I'll give you the last word. What do you want people to know about PC Techwear, and where can they go to learn more?
We are on social media: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, PC Techwear. Our website's pctechwear.com. Like I said, we've been in this region. We are really excited about the innovation, specifically that's going on in the CSRA. I feel like it's just the right place at the right time, right? There's a lot going on both sides of the river. A lot of investments from large enterprise to small entrepreneurs, right? All kind of taking a stab. And I think it's exciting to be a part of that. We do some things through Accelerate Augusta, but we really see things from the Cyber Center to the things that are happening on campus at USC Aiken, all across this region. I really feel, and again, I was here in Aiken in the 80s and 90s before the Aiken Mall was a thing. And I love the town then, right? Because you got everything from the valley to the polo field. And it's just such a really cool region. And to see the things happening that aren't sleepy, right? It's around innovation. We are like pushing the envelope on a lot of these things. And I think we're finally seeing people that see the vision and they see what's going to happen. And I think we're right on the cusp of that. A lot of good things have already happened, but I think it's going to continue to be a great place for families to come to do business here, to live. We just celebrated our anniversary, and my wife and I drove here to go to the Wilcox for dinner.
There you go.
We see like there's benefits, you're 30, 45 minutes to a lot of really cool stuff. So anyway, I know that didn't really have much to do with PC Techwear, but that's one thing we really just we love about this region, and we're so fortunate to be a part of the, growth in this area.
No, I would just echo that too, and Aiken does a lot of things well, and Augusta does a lot of things well, right? And when you look at the whole CSRA, the sum is greater than the parts. And if you can look at us as one giant ecosystem, man, we're going to be able to do some really cool things. And I think you're starting to see those partnerships form and those hands reaching across the river and saying, let's do business. Let's collaborate more. How else can we grow as a region? If your side wins, we win. We're all going to feel the ripple effect of that. So, but Matthew, no, it was a pleasure speaking with you, man. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you guys on the next one.